This is a tutorial on how to create this gorgeous fairy and mushroom design. This is our wildflower garden and we have just added this little addition. So I'm going to show you how to create this piece here in this video. If you're wanting to create all of the wildflowers and the little ladybug and the bumblebee, the video for that I will link in the description. So once we've attached our sulky stick and stitch to our garment, I'm just going to start here with the stalk of the mushroom. Now I've put onto my needle approximately a good armful and a half of the oatmeal. You can use whichever colour you like. Inside your Pixie Me kit you'll find 2 sharp needles and 1 blunt needle. If you're using a stick and stitch wash away stabilizer like I am here, you're going to be using the sharp tip needle. You can use the blunt tip needle for things like when you're using your fabric marker and you don't actually need to use the stabilizer. So you can see here I'm going in and using a straight stitch here or a little satin stitch, and we're just going to keep our stitches nice and even. We're going to stay within the lines of our design and we're just going to keep going like this all the way until we reach the top. And now that we're here, I'm just going to anchor down that final stitch. And then when we turn our garment over, this is how we're going to be tying off. So we've got our threaded needle and we've got our starting tail. We just need to bring these two together. So we're just going to weave through our work and bring these two tails together, and we can tie them now in a triple knot and just snip away any excess ends. Next, I've threaded on the same amount of yarn as before, but this time with the red. You can do your mushroom any color you like, and I'm just going to go in with a satin stitch here. Now when I do my satin stitches, I like to start in the center. I'm not really sure why, I just find it keeps me more even that way. I like to work to the right and then to the left. So I'm just going to pop a satin stitch in here, and I'm just going to do this all the way along the right side. So make sure you stay within your lines and keep your stitches nice and even and nice and straight. And we're just going to continue like this until we get to the end. And once we're here, I'm just going to flip my garment over. Now I've got my starting tail in the middle and my threaded needle. I'm just going to thread through my work so that we've got, this is my little thimble, which I'll talk about a little bit later. We're just going to bring our yarn back into the middle so that we can finish this left side. And once we're there, we can anchor that down with a stitch. And then I'm just going to bring that threaded needle back into the middle so that these two tails can now be tied together in a triple knot. Next, I've threaded on about 1/2 meter of the white yarn, and I'm just going to go in and do our little dots of our mushroom. So I've left a little tail underneath again to tie off to, and I'm just going to pop about 4 or 5 of these inside. And once I've finished, again, I'm just going to thread underneath my work and bring my 2 tails together and tie off together in a triple knot. Next, I've threaded on a little bit of pink yarn. I'm going to use this for my fairy's dress, and I'm going to go in again and do this satin stitch. I've just popped a little satin stitch in these little parts here as well. And then again tied off as we have been, so just threading underneath my work to bring those 2 tails together and tying together in a triple knot. And next I'm just going to thread onto my needle a good armful of the white yarn. This is the colour I'm going to use for my wings. And again, we're going to go in with the exact same stitch, so leaving a tail underneath to tie off to. I'm just going to go in and do a satin stitch all the way until the centre, and then follow the exact same stitch for the other 3 parts of the wings. And once we've finished filling in all of the wings, I've just tied off as we have been. Next, I've taken about a good armful of the brown yarn. This is the colour I'm going to do for my fairy's hair. You can, of course, do it any colour you like. And we're just going to, again, fill this in with our satin stitch. This is pretty much the same stitch we're using for the whole of this project, which makes it really nice and beginner friendly. So we're just going to go in and fill in all of that section. Once we've finished that, we're, of course, just going to tie off as we have been doing before with a triple knot. Now, using the same threaded needle, because you should have plenty of yarn in there, I've just gone and used my fabric marker and made this circle slightly bigger. I want to pop a woven wheel in here, and to do this I'm just going to put these little legs in here. It makes it kind of look like a bit of an asterisk, and we're going to pop a woven wheel or a rose stitch in here. Now, if you haven't done this before, we do have lots of tutorials on our channel which shows you how to do this a little bit slower, but let me just talk you through it now. So we're just going to bring our needle into the center. So we want to create these 5 little legs or 5 little spokes of the woven wheel, and we're just going to go from the outside, bringing your needle back into the center. And we're just going to pop this last one in. Now, this is a very small space to work with, so usually our woven wheels are a little bit bigger, so it might be a little bit challenging, but just try your best. And then we're just going to bring our needle up from our starting point, which is just going to be between these 2 little legs here, and I'm just going to now do an over under. So we're just going to, I like to use the opposite end of the needle, by the way, you don't have to do this, but we go over the first one, under the second one, over that one, under that one, and we're just going to carry on like this all the way around. So over that one, we're going under this one, and we're just going to keep doing this all the way around, and eventually you'll see this gorgeous little rose design forming, which I think looks like an adorable little bun. So if you want to try this method, then great. If you find it's a little bit complicated, that's fine too. You can just go in and do the little satin stitch in this section here too. And we're just going to keep going like this until this section is nice and full, which we are almost there. And once we are finished, we're going to then just anchor that down with just one last stitch. Once that's anchored down, we're just going to then bring our 2 tails together again and tie off in a triple knot. Now, when my fairy is finished, I actually noticed that the back of her dress looked a little bit lost, and I just popped in a couple of extra stitches just to make that a little bit more bolder. So once our fairy's all finished, you can then head to our YouTube channel and look for our wildflower garden video, and you'll be able to learn the stitches for all of these gorgeous little extra additions, the flowers and the little bugs as well. And this is what your project should look like when you're finished. So let's wash away this stabilizer. Now, the Sulky Stick and Stitch Stabilizer is a great tool to use for doing some really detailed design. It can be a little bit tricky to remove, so just persevere with it. You're going to run it under a tap of lukewarm water. You might need to use your hand just to sort of help it along a little bit, but really take your time with this bit, because a lot of people find that when they wash it away and then the garment dries, it still feels really sort of crusty and you can feel that stabilizer still there. So really soak it, remove it all, and then once you're finished, I do sometimes pop mine in the washing machine and put it just on a spin cycle just to reduce the amount of water, but you don't have to do that. You can just rinse it off, flat lay to dry, and then you are good to go. Now once I finished my design, I felt like it needed a little bit more greenery, so we popped a couple of lazy daisy stitches here just to create some super cute little shrubs, and yeah, once we finished that, I felt like it was fully complete. I really hope you enjoyed making this gorgeous fairy wildflower garden. Happy stitching, guys.